So thank you for joining us. This is Emily Leach. I am the founder and president of the Texas Freelance Association, and today we're doing a wonderful interview with one of our members, one of our first members, actually, of the Texas Freelance Association, Brio Yiapan. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
So real quickly, I know I could say it on here, but I would rather you say, what is it you would call the best piece of your profession as a freelancer?
The best piece of my profession, I would say, is just all the different people I get to meet. It's so much fun. I mean, on a daily basis, either, over the phone, emailing, in person. I just love meeting people. So
That works well. So you're a professional photographer.
that's right.
So what is out of photography? Some people really go and do weddings. They do, specific niches within photography. Do you have a niche, or do you kind of follow what comes to you?
Well, right. I would say that my niche is people, whether it's commercial photography, stuff for advertising, or, magazines or weddings. I do both sides of the public sector and the private, and really what I like to do is photograph people.
Oh, wow. So what is it about photographing people you like so much? The expression?
Well, I mean, people are just so interesting, and with photography, it's about telling a story or relating a feeling to the viewer. And so, there's always a story to be told with people, and it's just such a fun thing to do. I mean, photography is, I think, kind of the byproduct of getting to interact with people, and what you come away with is photographs. So, yeah, it's about working with people.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, one of the things that I love so much about photography, and I am so not a photographer, is I love to look at the really old stuff.
Oh, me too.
Because you're, talking about this idea of the, photography shows the story of a person. It's really what we go back to look at what it was like in the 1800s or even the early 1900s. And you can see the look on their face, the clothing that they're wearing, what's in the background or lack thereof.
Uh-huh.
And I find really old photography super interesting.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that's I became fascinated with that before I was in photography, and I think that's kind of one of the, earliest sparks of, my road to becoming a photographer. And those really old black and white photos, and, it's kind of interesting because most of the time people are not smiling, they're just looking straight into the camera, but I would just stare at those, and I'm like, what's the story? What were they thinking? What was their life like? There's so much there, even though there's no smile or, overt expression.
And what color is their shirt? I always want to know what color is their shirt.
That's so funny. I imagined it was white or black, but it probably was a color.
So my favorite show in the entire world is The Rifleman. And I spend the entire, however long it is, 15, 20 minutes total, trying to figure out what color stuff is. Like, if there's any way I could tell. Anyway, that's totally off the subject, but it's kind of funny. So what got you into it? What was that initial spark that said, you know what, photography's my thing?
Well, it's kind of funny. After high school, I moved to Jamaica to do like 6 months of service and learning, and I wanted to be able to take cool pictures while I was living in Jamaica. I mean, who wouldn't? So my grandmother bought me my first SLR, and I was so excited. I spent, 6 months. I shot 100 rolls of film because, yes, I'm that old. Back in the old days of film.
Not 100 cards, people. These were rolls.
Yeah, exactly. So I came back with 100 rolls of film, took them, had them all developed, and I was so disappointed with the results because, these amazing things that I'd imagined and seen they were blurry, or they were too dark, or it just was not what I thought I was capturing. So I was like, well, I'd like to take some classes and figure out what I did wrong so that I can take good pictures in the future. And I just fell in love with it from there.
Wow. Well, I see stuff in the background. Can you take your camera or whatever and do a little virtual tour of what you got going on there?
Sure. All right. Let me carry you right over here. What you see on the wall back here are some photographs of mine from Kenya. That's where I was born, and I've spent a lot of time there. A side project I have is, helping to drill water wells in Kenya. So that's what those photos are from. And if we look around, this is my space. This is kind of where the magic happens. You know, lighting and my piano and, you know, all that good stuff. So this is the studio.
That's fabulous. I love the natural light.
Oh, light, it's all about light.
It is, yeah. I have a little office space down the street, and I swear the thing I love about it the most is there's one wall that's all windows.
Oh, I
So
love
I can
that.
just sit in it, you know, and actually most of the video that I do, I'm actually sitting on my desk because that way the natural light is behind the camera.
Oh, uh-huh.
The one trick I've learned in
Yeah.
videography.
Uh-huh.
So how long have you been a freelancer?
I quit the day job about 12 years ago.
Nice.
And I did, you know, the day job, which was, you know, waitressing and like almost every restaurant in Austin, and in photography on the side for a few years after I finished photography school. And then at one point, you know, I kind of felt like it was the time. I mean, honestly, it happened because I really wanted to go to this small town rural Mardi Gras festival in Louisiana, and my boss didn't want me to go. And so I said, well, I think this is my jumping off point. Here's my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to Mardi Gras and I'm going to be a full-time photographer for myself.
Wow, I love that story. It's almost as good as my jumping off story.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my
What
goodness.
story?
So I was 22 years old and I was out of college, 2 years out of college, single parents, and I might have been 23, early 20s. I was still pretty stupid. And it was a Tuesday morning and I just decided that I didn't want to do this anymore.
Uh-huh.
And there was this really cool sounding town called Albuquerque. And it was just, you know, just down the highway.
Uh-huh.
And forgetting how I was in Houston, so it was actually a long ways on the highway. And so I lived there on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And wow. All right, that might be a little bit more dramatic than mine.
Well, I was just too young to know that that's not what you do. And apparently, and now I can look back and see why my parents were so distraught and concerned. And why do you really want to do this? And you can live with us if you're having problems, you know, whatever. Honey, really, you don't have to do that. So that was my jumping off point.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So last question. So what was the final piece that made you decide to join the Texas Freelance Association?
Well, it was the launch event. I came to it, you know, wondering what the group was all about, and there were so many awesome people. I mean, there were a lot of people, and as I said earlier, I love people. So there was lots of people to talk to. Everyone was really friendly, and when you're a freelancer, you don't have a built-in workplace with other people to either collaborate with or, you know, work on projects with. So you've got to be out there as a freelancer, as someone who works for yourself. You've got to be meeting people and making things happen. And so over the last 15 years that I've been working for myself, what's helped me launch my business and stay in business is staying in the marketplace and meeting other people. You know, these are people who are possibly going to hire me, people I might hire, or just colleagues that, you know, we help each other. You know, like I might have a question or an issue and somebody else can provide an answer. And so it's just completely vital to staying in business.
That's exactly what I found. You know, the more people that I just get out and meet, and I don't rarely ever talk about business, just getting out and meeting them and having a cup of coffee and getting to know them. And before you know it, they're like, oh, I know that you do this. And, you know, I get an email introducing me to somebody, and it has just worked beautifully.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, last night I did a headshot for
Jackie Dana.
For Jackie Dana, yep, one of the members who I met through the group. And then this morning I was having coffee with another member, and we were talking about, you know, the industry that we're involved in, of photography and events and weddings and, you know, all of that stuff. So we're going to work on a project coming up, and it's been...
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
So it's been a lot of fun.
If you had one tip that you would give to other freelancers, fellow freelancers, since you've been in the industry of freelancing for 11, 12 years, what would that be?
always be meeting new people. It's just, there's, the saying that you should never stop learning, you should never stop meeting people, just because it's fun and it's what keeps your business relevant and keeps you in front of people and on their mind.
You may even say it's what keeps you relevant too.
Exactly.
Because you're learning all the time what little idiosyncrasies are changing in the market for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. That pretty much wraps it up, unless there's something else you'd like to say or just tell your audience.
Well, no, I think that's about it. I look forward to meeting everybody at the different meetings.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thanks, Emily.